Good morning, my friends. I am back with another morning vlog, and we are starting today bright and early, even though today is not going to be quite as busy in that I'm not going to be running errands. We're not going shopping. Instead, I hope you would like to join me for a little wardrobe declutter because I have started ordering in some new pieces for fall winter that I cannot wait to share with you. But before I can unpack anything new, I need to take care of my wardrobe because it is fully overrun by things that I no longer wear, either because they don't suit me, they don't fit me, they are too big, they are too small, they no longer suit my lifestyle, and the things that I use and wear on a regular basis, I have no place for. I had this one dedicated drawer for all my gym wear, which at this point is just overflowing, yet I have things beautifully hung. Well, at this point not so beautifully hung, but at one point I had them beautifully laid out and hung nice and neat that I don't wear or don't use. So I thought that I would put those things away. Now, obviously, people selling their luxury collections has been a huge trend. There are many reasons for that. It's something that I did a dedicated video on, but of course, the state of the economy, luxury perception has changed quite a bit. We no longer view luxury the same way, or a lot of us, of course, I cannot speak for everyone, but a lot of people don't view and prioritize luxury the way they did before. These excessive hauls and luxury unboxings are not nearly as popular as they once were. Of course, depending on where you live, safety concerns might be something else that you are dealing with. So yeah, the way we look at luxury and the way we consume it is changing. I don't think that the luxury industry is dead in any shape or form. Whatever goes down has to go back up. So I'm not at a point where I would be getting rid of everything that I own, but I have rehomed a lot of my things. You may remember that last year I did a closet clear out with you guys, and I was so happy that some of the pieces I wanted to rehome went to some of you and they have found some new homes with you. A lot of the things I still have just because if someone asked to have a think about it, and then someone else reached out, I told them that that piece was on hold. And then if it didn't work out or they didn't get back to me, I didn't follow up, which is fully on me. So there might still be some things that you saw in that last closet clear out. So if there's anything that you see in today's video, I am not proactively selling any one of these things. But if any one of you would be interested in taking them off my hand, I will make sure to have my email address listed in the info box. You know, I could go on Investor Collective, I could go on Vinted and start selling these pieces, but I just really don't have the bandwidth right now. And also, these are things that hold a lot of memory, even though I'm not a traditional collector in that I don't have a lot of sentimental value attached to most of my pieces. But these are things that I carefully curated over the years. So I would love for them to either just go into storage or to go to a loving home and be with someone who is going to enjoy them and appreciate them as much as I have. So if there's anything that piques your interest, just shoot me an email and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can and we can discuss the details. Otherwise, everything else will be going in storage. And I thought it might be fun for you to keep me company and for me to share with you some stories about some of my best and worst purchases. If we come across some things that I still wear and use, I can share with you why that is. I can tell you about some of my worst purchases. Sorry guys, I hope that the lighting is not too distracting, but the sun keeps going in and out from behind the clouds. Today is supposed to be one of the warmest days in Amsterdam, which is the reason I don't really want to do anything outside, but it is getting really sunny, so hopefully I won't be too washed out. I have just readjusted the camera, so I hope it's a little better. I have no idea what I looked like before, but hopefully it looks better now. What was I saying? Yes, we're going to take a walk down memory lane. I'm going to share with you some stories that I have attached to these pieces, some of my best and worst purchases, and hopefully we can keep each other company, and maybe you yourself need some inspiration to start decluttering your wardrobe for the upcoming fall or winter month. I mean, I don't want to say winter because winter is quite far yet. We're only halfway through August, but I'm actually going back to school in, I think, 2.5 weeks, which is crazy how time is flying. So I thought this would be the perfect time to do it because today I have the time to spend just decluttering, and then as soon as I have those new pieces in for fall winter, I can start sharing them with you, and then I'll have a place to put them. But without further ado, if you'd like to come along and just have a fun browse through my luxury collection, mainly when it comes to ready to wear and accessories. We might look at some jewelry too. Then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on marching. And here we are, my friend, in the middle of the chaos. But at least I can tell you about my first luxury regret, which I would definitely not do again, which is the PAX wardrobe. I'm not sure if it's something that I talked about before, but these PAX wardrobes were a huge trend on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that almost all of your favorite luxury YouTubers will have the PAX wardrobe in some shape or form. So when I moved into this apartment and I needed to build my own wardrobe, there was no doubt in my mind that I would also get the packs, which I would definitely not do again for many reasons. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the structure of the packs. I do love IKEA. I think they do some great basics and they do some great structures, but I would not do the packs like this. I would not do a wardrobe without doors for many reasons. Number one, it's something that needs to be kept incredibly tidy, neat, and clean. Otherwise, it looks incredibly chaotic. You cannot have things in bags that you get from the dry cleaner. You want to keep everything on the same hangers. You want to have your things really beautifully folded and kept clean, which is very difficult when you have, first of all, a baby like I do who is sleeping by my feet, who sheds a lot, not to mention all the dust and everything that is in the air will settle on your clothes, especially if you have bags and more delicate pieces on display. It's definitely not something you want, not to mention that you will have sun on your pieces, which has actually ruined, well, I hope it's not fully ruined, but it's definitely damaged one of my Gucci suede jackets, which I can show you in a little bit, which has one of the sleeves slightly bleached and faded just from the constant sunlight that this room is getting. And even if I close the curtains, it's something that you have to be quite careful with. Long story short, I personally do not have the bandwidth to keep up with keeping this wardrobe clean enough for it to look nice and neat. And I never really film in front of this wardrobe anyway anymore, just because there's so much going on in the background. So this was definitely my first luxury regret, which I would not do. I know that I will never do a wardrobe quite like this that has no doors. If I really wanted to have pieces on display, maybe I would do a wardrobe that is fully covered with doors and then just have one unit with shelves that could have pieces on display. But I don't think that it really worked for me. At least it's not working for storing ready to wear. But also with bags, I would be quite careful because, again, there's so much dust, there is sunlight, which you don't want to have your pieces exposed to. And yes, of course, you can keep your bags in their dust bags. I could have my more delicate pieces in their garment bags too. But then it just feels like I'm living in a storage unit and I would have to have tags and labels on everything. So anyway, I love the idea. I think it is great. Maybe if you have a room that doesn't have huge windows. In this room, I have floor to ceiling windows and I even have a balcony, which I'm not complaining about for a single second, but it is a bedroom. It wasn't meant to be a wardrobe. So in this setting, in this environment, and for me personally, these type of wardrobes just do not work. And as you can see, there is a little bit of a mess behind me, which honestly, if I had doors on this, I can tell you, you would not think that it is as messy as it seems, because it's just the way the cookie crumbles when it comes to a display unit quite like this. It feels like you have your pieces on exhibition rather than it's a functional piece, which is beautiful. And I love that idea that you get to appreciate and see your pieces. But again, for me, it does not work. But without further ado, let's move on to this side where I have all of my pieces folded. I hope you can see me because I cannot see myself. But let's start over here, which is all my shelves where I have things folded. It's really important that if you love knits, especially finer, more delicate knits, you do not hang them because the shoulders and the sleeves can stretch over time. So your knits, you always want to keep folded or the majority of the time. So that's why I have all of my favorite knits here, which we're not going to go through today. These are just the knits that I also wear in the summer. These are not every single piece of knitwear that I own. I actually have a few boxes stacked on top of this wardrobe where I keep some of my more wintry things. These are all the knits that I love and I also wear in the summer. These are quite neat and I know that I'm not going to be getting rid of anything. The one piece that I will have to take to the dry cleaner is this vest from Thom Browne, which is by far my favorite summer knit. I think I wore this in my last What's New from Hermes update. And then my Rick Owens knit I wear a lot. My favorite knit from Rick Owens is called I think these are called I can pull them out. I think it might be easier. So I have my favorite Thom Browne knit here, which is actually a cotton knit. I do have some of his vests. This happens to be made of cotton, which makes it perfect for the summer. And then I love that I said I'm going to be making this more tidy and I'm making more of a mess, but it is worth it because it's for you guys. And then this, I always get a ton of questions on. It has to be one of my most complimented pieces, which is most likely because of the color and also the fit. This is a classic style that Rick Owens has been doing for years. It is called the biker. I think it's called the biker sweater, which it does in, I think it's a blend of wool and cashmere, but it does change slightly depending on the season. Sometimes he will also put some silk in there. I think this particular one is wool and cashmere, and it is a really, really thin, in my opinion, extremely flattering shape of knit. It's cropped, but the sleeves are quite short and the top part is quite fitted. And then let me see, I do have that in black, and then I'm pretty sure I have one more piece of knit from him, which is identical to that. Do you love the fact that I told you not to have your pieces hung? Yet I have some of my knits hung. Do as I say, not as I do. I also have it in this color, which I think Rick Owens calls Pearl. So this is a classic that I love and always go back to. So these are my more delicate knits and my more formal knits, I should say. And then on top, I have all my sweatshirts. Most of them are from Skims. I love Skims loungewear and Skims activewear. I just find the fabrics really comfortable, really cozy, and really soft. So I have a lot of their pieces up here. I have some things from Pangaea. I have some things from Elo and Lululemon. This is, by the way, double stacked. So I have not only two piles here, but then I also have two in the back. And then one thing that I know I want to be getting rid of is this one, which I also have the matching sweatpants for. Let me put this down. So this is a sweatshirt that I got from Hermes, and some of you may remember this. This was one of the first seasons that Hermes came out with these commercial pieces for men. It was inspired by those H woven pieces that they had been doing for women for a couple of years at that point, and then they launched this sweat line for men, which they still do, not with this exact same design, but it's always a quirky, fun, sporty take on an H. When I bought this, the H was really gently embedded in the sleeve, so you might see that it has this line running down on the sleeve all the way from the collar. Then it gets cut off in the middle on the sleeve, and then it continues, and the idea is that you have this H pattern on the sleeve. It was a nice sweater, but I found it really unflattering and it just no longer fits me at this point. It's something that I would have to take to the dry cleaner and then also get it steamed, because it's not that it's in bad condition, of course. I've only ever worn this a handful of times, but it's just been sitting up there folded underneath the weight of all that stuff. So I know that this is something that I need to just nicely clean, and I'm gonna do the same with the trousers, the matching, not trousers, but the matching pair of sweatpants, which should be just behind that pile. I'm not going to pull all that stuff out now, and I'm not gonna go through all of these things and refold them, because you know how to fold things. I don't think you need a tutorial on that, at least not for me. Some people are amazing at folding. I'm not one of those people, so I will do that in my private time, and I'm not going to waste your time. Moving on to this section of the wardrobe, which is the largest section, by the way, and this is where I have all my things hung. I like to have most things on hangers just so they don't get that wrinkled. One of my least favorite things, one of my pet peeves, you could say, is having things that are wrinkly. So I try to have everything steamed before I leave my apartment. It's a new habit that I'm trying to get into, and I have to tell you, it really doesn't take that long if you have your steamer always out, not plugged in. Do not leave your steamer plugged in, but if you have it out, I have a little laundry room where I have my steamer. And if I just leave it out, I usually just keep it on top of my washing machine. If I just have it set there, it's just so easy to plug it in and quickly go over my things that I'm going to wear. It makes such a big difference. It makes me feel so much more confident, so much more put together, so much more just well groomed. I think it goes a really, really long way. If I could have a steamer by my front door, I probably would, just so I never forget to steam my things. But as you can tell, it doesn't matter whether you have things hung or folded, they are going to get wrinkled and creased if you have them overstacked like this. At one point, my idea was to have all my trousers hung here and then have everything else color coordinated. And I only really had shirts and more chunky knits that I was wearing on a more regular basis. And then I had my coats in a different section. But at this point, it's just kind of all over the place. So let's start here. I have quite a few pairs of trousers. Okay, let's start here. I'm gonna go through these really quickly. I have one of my favorite pairs of trousers from Bottega that is really often complimented. I'm definitely keeping these. I have a pair of tailoring trousers from Dior. A lot of those don't fit me, which I actually have all packed up in a Dior garment bag just down there, but this is one that still fits. I have a pair of linen trousers which were custom made by Suit Supply. I don't think anyone should underestimate Suit Supply. If you love really traditional, well-made tailoring pieces that will not cost an arm and a leg, do not overlook Suit Supply. I have a handful of pieces from them. Then these, were these from Hermes? Yeah, I think these were Hermes. No, sorry, that was from Dior. I think these are another pair of Dior tailoring pants. And then these are my Rick Owens. I think they're called the Prisoner pants, which I love. These are the ones with that really long drawstring detail, which Rick Owens is known for. I have a couple of these, but this was my latest edition, which still fits me. And then the rest I have, I don't even know where, but these I know still fit me, so we can keep all of these things. And then we have even more trousers here, which I'm so excited to see what these are. These are actually quite heavy. First things first, I have a pair of Loro Piana city trousers, which I bought in London. And these are made of linen. These are some of the most beautifully made, tailored, pleated linen trousers. These are in size 46, which I sadly cannot wear. They are way, way, way too big for me, but these are just gorgeous. So I need to figure out what to do with these. If anyone is interested, again, shoot me an email. They're size 46. They have never been worn. I think I've only ever put these on around the house, and then I never actually wore them out. They are, I mean, brand new essentially, but these I love. Sadly, I can no longer wear, so let me put these aside. To say that I have a type would be an understatement. I have a pair of plain black tailoring pants from Louis Vuitton. I have one from Dior. These are my favorite Dior pants from the Travis Scott collaboration. So if you look here, you might be able to see the Dior embroidery. And then these are those new tuxedo pants that I recently got from Hermes, which I think you know all about. This was such a mess trying to get my hands on these. It was a horror story, which I could tell you about one day, but today is not the day. And then I have two more pairs of trousers here. One from, I think these are Dior again. I love these jogger style tailoring trousers. So they are a proper pair of pants, but the top part is elasticated, and then they have a drawstring detail, which is something that Dior does every single season. I'm pretty sure it's part of their Essential line. And then these are a pair of really oversized, I think these are Celine pants, but again, these are not something that I can wear. I'm pretty sure I bought these in London at the Celine outlet. I put these on once for a reel, and that's when I realized how big these were. I have a suspicion that they gave me the wrong size, because I remember trying on two different pairs of trousers at Celine, and I think they ended up giving me the wrong one because it is huge on me personally, even though it's not a big size, but it just does not fit me. I clearly like what I like, because if anything, these are identical to the Loro Piana ones. It is a pair of balloon shaped trousers with some pleats in the front. As you can tell, they still have the tags on. And this is in size 44. So in theory, they should fit me. but they don't. So the Loro Piana trousers are a size 46 and these are size 44. But I know that when I tried these, I could not, they were just way too big for me, but they are beautiful. I think they are made of wool. Yes, they are 100% wool. Absolutely beautiful, but sadly not something that I can wear at this point. So again, this is something that's either going to have to find a new home or it's going to go away in storage. Okay, I promise to pick this up a little bit because I don't want it to be too boring, but this is one of my most favorite silk shirts I've ever bought. It is from Valentino and it is inspired by a very classic traditional pajama look. There was also a matching pair of trousers, which I sadly did not buy, and I kind of regret it because I would love that full-on pajama look. I love these. It is beautifully done. It is one of the most beautiful, most substantial silks I have ever felt, and it is one of my favorite pieces still that definitely does not get enough wear. Another regret that I have spent way too much money on is designer t-shirts with different emblems and quotes and writings. This one is from Dior. As much as I love the message behind this t-shirt was, I don't even know, 700-800 euros, something along those lines, and it's not something that I would wear at this point, even though I love the fit, I love the cut, I love the fabric. I think it's an interesting blend of linen and cotton, maybe. I don't think there's silk in this. It's just not something that I would personally spend the money on at this point. This is in size large, in case anyone's interested. A piece that definitely should be better protected than this. This is an archival Tom Ford. I'm pretty sure it is a runway tuxedo. It was one of the most expensive pieces I have ever bought, and it was so worth the money. This is something that I get a ton of wear out of. It's made of the most beautiful, richest, darkest, deep black velvet. Another incredible investment piece, which I love and I'm so glad to have, is a Prada nylon blazer. This is something that I wear a ton. And I not only wear this with more formal outfits, but this is the most incredible blazer to have in your collection, just to make a more casual laid back outfit look and feel a little bit more put together. It's made of nylon, so you don't have to worry about this. I often wear this instead of a raincoat or a jacket. And Prada is a brand that really suits my personal lifestyle at this point because it's casual, it's easy, it's effortless, yet it is beautifully refined. And last but not least, before we move on to accessories and jewelry, I wanted to show you some pieces that actually are very near and dear to my heart because of when I bought them and where I got them from. First thing is one of the most unique hoodies I think you'll ever see. It's certainly the most unique hoodie I've ever seen, which is from the brand Vetements, and I can tell you exactly what season it's from because it's embroidered on the hood. So this is from autumn winter 2018, and I remember buying this sweater from a multi-brand store in Boston. I think it's called Riccardi, which is one of my favorite multi-brand stores I've ever been to. It's not a store that I frequented by any stretch of the imagination. I never lived in Boston, but I remember my first time going to that boutique and just being blown away by their incredible curation. It was an incredibly tiny store, but the pieces that they handpicked from each designer was right up my alley. And that's where this sweater or this hoodie is from. And what I loved is that the back was draped. So it kind of looks like a straight jacket. It's incredibly uncomfortable to put on because it's fully pulled in the back. So it feels incredibly strange putting it on, but once it's on, it's really quite unique. I mean, it's quite a controversial piece. I had many friends who hated this, but I personally loved it and found it incredibly unique. So that's not going anywhere. And then I have a few white shirts here. I have one from Hermes, which they did with a mandarin color. It's a really classic summer shirt. It's made of this kind of pique fabric, which I thought I would get a ton of wear out of. I'm not big on shirts, but I thought because this felt a little bit more casual and I bought it in a larger size, I thought it's something I could throw on, but it kind of looks like a hospital gown when I put this on. I usually love a mandarin color, but it really doesn't work on me in white with this oversized look. So even though it is a beautiful classic Hermes shirt, not for me, sadly. Then here I have one of my most favorite pieces from Hermes, which was the very first piece of ready-to-wear that I fell in love with from Hermes that I actually ended up buying on sale. But I bought it in a huge size. I had to get it retailored, and then I took it to the dry cleaner, and it came back with these weird dots underneath the arm. I have no idea what happened. I don't know if something happened before I took it to the dry cleaner. I don't think so because it is such a weird marking. I think something happened maybe in the washing machine that they put it in, but it's not something that I'm going to be selling it because it is one of my most favorite designs. You know that I love a really simple detail like this, but usually I will buy pieces with this line running down the back, which I call the spine detail. This is in the front, which I love, but I don't get that much wear out of. And then this I sadly have to get rid of because it's gone completely yellow and I have no idea why that is. Probably because it's been hanging here for 3 years without it ever being worn. So I do think that maybe it's my sunscreen, maybe it's the sun, maybe it's the mixture of all these elemental influences. But this was the shirt that I actually bought for my first college graduation from Dior. This was the first year that they introduced the Atelier collection for men, which was inspired by some of their most classic tailoring pieces, but they were spiced up with this ribbon with the Atelier's address on them. Sadly, this shirt, I don't think there's anything I can do with. I don't think it can be saved. Maybe I could try to take it to the dry cleaner, but I do think it's one of those things that it's time to say goodbye to. I'm not sure if it looks that different on camera, but I can tell you that in person it's made such a big difference. Just removing a few things that were cluttering my space, things that are beautiful but I no longer reach for, things that don't suit me, and they are just taking up more space than they deserve. Just having those things removed and putting them away has already made such a big difference. So I would highly encourage you to do it because it not only means that I have more space for new things coming in, but it has also made my own life a lot easier. Just being able to see the things that I own and want to use. I hope it's going to help me take advantage of the things a little bit more, things that I already own. But let's move on to some accessories that I'm either debating rehoming or just doing something about, because at this point I no longer reach for them, starting with some of my Hermes belts. I think I talked about this in my last Hermes vlog that I wanted to take back some of my belt straps to Hermes to have some additional holes punched in them, because I used to buy a belt, well, this I think is a size 90, which these days I'm usually a size 80, 85 in belts. I just ordered a new belt and I got it in a size 80, so we'll see if that fits me. What I do know for a fact is 90 is way too big, so I was going to take these back to Hermes and have them punch some additional holes in there. But if you watch that vlog, you know that it was a whole ordeal. It took me an hour and a half to be able to speak to one of my sales associates, and he was just so busy. I did not want to bother him and take up more of his time by having holes punched in there. So what I could do, of course, when it comes to Hermes belt kits, which that means that you buy a belt strap and a buckle separate. You can choose any buckle and any belt strap. The only restriction is that you cannot buy a belt buckle on its own. It always has to be accompanied with a belt strap, but you can buy as many belt straps as you want. So I could always go back and buy more belt straps, which I don't want to do because these are in great condition. I have a couple here, but I would also go for this exact same color. So I just want to put some additional holes in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm either going to take them to a cobbler, or I also saw that you can buy these gadgets that allow you to punch some additional holes in your own belts. So I might just do that, because that means I can have all of my belts lengthened and extended, and I have a lot more than these. But I have one in size 32 width wise, and then I have one in 24. I definitely prefer size 24. I have one here with the CDC buckle, which I adore, and then in here I think I have a Constance belt, so an H belt with a lizard inlay, which is not really my style at this point. If anyone's interested in rehoming this, let me know. It is a beautiful piece, but I'm just not an H belt kind of guy at this point. Speaking of CDC, something that I have not worn in ages, it's one of those pieces that I've only ever worn a handful of times, surprisingly, considering how much I love my traditional CDCs, is the CDC 24, which is a thinner, narrower take on the original CDC bracelet, which is by far one of my favorite designs, not only favorite pieces of jewelry, but one of my favorite designs. If you love a bold statement piece, nothing will do that for you quite as well as a CDC does. So I was really excited to explore the CDC 24 as well, which I definitely got some good use out of. It's still in immaculate condition, but I don't wear this nearly as much as I do my 24s. So this might be something that I want to do something with. I feel like that was a lot of something. What is this? Oh, here is a traditional CDC. This I adore. I would never get rid of this. I have a couple of these. This one is in black matte alligator with palladium hardware. And then I also have it in rose gold or gold. I never remember which one I bought, but the CDC 24, the thinner one, I think is black with rose gold hardware. Another thing that I pulled out to show you, you guys know this is my most favorite piece of all time, my Kelly wallet. If there was one piece from Hermes I would never get rid of, it is this piece. And surprisingly, it was my first large purchase from Hermes, which I'm so grateful for. This was an incredible investment. I am jumping in from the future here, but speaking of the Kelly wallet and editing that section, it reminded me of this piece, which I still have. It wasn't even with all my other accessories, because when I spoke about this in my last closet clear out, so many of you wanted to get your hands on this, but I just did not have at the time to follow up with everyone. So if you're still interested, I've still got this piece. It's in immaculate condition, and while I do love this, it's just sadly not something that I get a ton of wear out of. I feel like when I reach for an SLG, it is always going to be my Kelly wallet or a more compact card holder. But this was one of the very first Hermes pieces I ever unboxed on YouTube. So while it holds some very dear memories, I feel like it's a shame for it to be just sitting in a drawer collecting dust. So if you're still interested, please shoot me an email and I promise to get back to you as soon as I can. Something that sadly did not work out for me, however, is this bag from the Row, which is the banana bag. As much as I love the style, the idea, and what you can do with this, in fact, I have a dedicated review on this. It has proven to be just a little bit small for me. It has just been sitting in its dust bag since my review on this, because as I said, it's just too small. So if anyone's interested, let me know. Otherwise, this is going to be going into storage. And then let me see. Speaking of storage units, you know, two pieces of jewelry that I have really not been wearing from Hermes are these two. So this is my finesse pendant with black spinels, which I think is just a little bit too delicate for me. It's something that I got, I think it was for Christmas. I think it might have been Christmas of 2020 or 2021 it was. And I wore it for a little while. It's still in incredible condition, but at this point it's just a little bit too delicate for my liking. And I'm not even sure if they still do, I know that they still do this design with white diamonds, but I'm not sure if it's still offered with black spinels. So this I'm going to be putting away. And then another piece that sadly, I don't know why, maybe it's just because I don't really go to places that I would want to wear fine jewelry to, but this is another piece that hasn't gotten much use recently, which is my Kelly chain bracelet in the pavé finish with white diamonds, which is incredibly beautiful, but again, might be just a little bit too sparkly and too over the top for my liking, even though this piece is definitely not over the top. Maybe I'm just going through a little bit of a phase, and this is still a piece that I adore and find so incredibly beautiful. But since we're talking about pieces that I'm going to be putting away for a little bit, things that I'm going to put in hibernation, this is something that I want to keep nice and safe, and it's not one that I have been reaching for that often recently. And I think that is pretty much it. These are all the things that I have around me, or at least all the things that I am seeing, because it is quite messy in here right now. I have to go and fold all the things that I removed from the hangers. I have to put all those trousers away, And again, these are beautiful, expensive pieces that I value. So when I say that I'm going to put them away, I want to respect them. So it's going to take me some time to fold everything. Maybe I'm going to put some things in tissue paper and then put them in the tubs and boxes on top of my wardrobe. But again, if you saw anything in this video that piqued your interest, shoot me an email and I would love to find a new home for some of these pieces. But this brings us to the end of today's decluttering video. It was mainly to keep myself accountable. I really hope that you guys enjoyed coming on this journey with me and hearing the story behind some of these pieces and what pieces have been working for me, which pieces have not. I would love to hear if you have any luxury regrets that you've recently discovered, if there are any pieces that you've been really enjoying, and if you have any tips for me on how to keep my collection a little bit more organized. The comment section is, of course, always for you. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I will see you back here with a new video really, really soon.